You are the problem. And you are the solution.
This is the Deep Dive with Adam Roa.
Hello, Deep Divers. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Deep Dive podcast. My name is Adam Roa. Today, I want to dive into the topic of you are the problem. Yeah, I said it. I mean it too. And the thing about that is it's empowering. It's empowerment to know that you are the problem. And that's what I want to get in today. So before doing that, I want to remind you that if you haven't heard yet, then I guess it's not a reminder. This is the first time you'll know. Well, I want to make you aware or remind you that Create Premium is now live. Create Premium is my first ever membership community, and we have blended the membership model, right? So you pay a monthly due, you get access to monthly offerings, you get premium events, you get incentives in the weekly classes in the Create community, and you get access to a private members area where you are surrounded by facilitators and other members who are there to support and uplift you into living the life of your dreams. And on top of that, we are combining it with a group coaching program. That means as for being a member, you get a weekly group coaching call with one of our 8 epic world-class facilitators. These are people who get paid to speak on stages, lead retreats, lead workshops all over the world. They have their own coaching practices. They work with private clients, and I have recruited them and handpicked them because, quite honestly, they're my friends. They're people I've known for years and I've wanted to work with. And I said, hey, would you do this? Would you do this with me? And so they said yes. And this is an opportunity for you to get a coaching program that would normally cost over $1,000 a month for fraction of that. And so I highly, highly encourage you to head over to thecreatecommunity.com. Check it out. It is the first coaching offering that I have had in over a year. So if you have wanted to work with me and you haven't wanted to pay thousands of dollars to do so, then I invite you to check it out. This is the best value of any coaching program that I have seen out there, and I stand behind it so fully that there's a 14-day money-back guarantee. If you sign up, you're not participating, you don't think that you're getting value from it, awesome. We will give you your money back, no questions asked. I want this to be something that you are excited about. So if you are looking at what is the next stage of your growth and development, this is it. I encourage you to head over to thecreatecommunity.com and check it out, because at the end of the day, you're the problem. That's what I'm talking about today. You are the problem. What do I mean by that? Let's dive in. Let's get in deep on this. What do I mean that you are the problem? What I'm saying is that if you have a problem of any kind in your life, you're a part of that. Your problem's not my problem. I know probably 7 billion other people on the planet who your problem is not their problem either. Your problem is a few people's problem, maybe. And the consistent, common denominator amongst all of your problems is that you're a part of it. And so this is not about blaming yourself. Really important to recognize, because there are people, I've been one of these people, that take the blame always. They say, it's my fault. I did something wrong. I take ownership of it. And that can often be a disempowerment. It can come from this limiting belief that I am not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. It's always my fault. I'm a bad person. Any of these sorts of beliefs that lie underneath in that subconscious area and that play themselves out. And so when that happens, often the action that someone will take is to martyr themselves. You know what? It's my fault. Okay. And by taking it on and saying that it's my problem, it's my fault, And having that limiting belief of, I'm not good enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not strong enough. When we take on a problem, we put it into the box of, this can't be fixed. That is not helpful. So I want to make, from the very beginning, I want to make that very clear. That is not a helpful pattern. What is a helpful pattern is saying, wow, I have an issue. I have some sort of problem in my life, and I'm a part of that. And by saying I am a part of that, by saying this is my problem that I am causing in some way, shape, or form, what that does is empower me to say, that means I'm also part of the solution. I get to figure out what is the way that I can resolve this? What is the way that I can find a solution? And the cool thing is that doesn't mean you have to do it by yourself. When I say I'm a part of this problem, this is my problem. I have created this problem. It doesn't mean that now I have to go and fix it in some cave by myself and come out with the solution. The solution might look like, okay, I need to assemble a team meeting and we all get to brainstorm on how to solve this. Great. That is me taking ownership for how to find a solution for a problem that I know I'm a part of. It might look like, okay, I need to fire someone. And this is something that I have thought about many times, right? Because in my business, to use a real world example, in my business, I have noticed there have been times where communication is not optimal. I felt like things are being miscommunicated, things are falling through the cracks. It's a waste of resources, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of time. And it may not even involve me. It might be communication between two members of my team. And I go, that wasn't good communication. But because it starts with me and it ends with me because it is my business, I take full ownership and I say, if there is a communication issue, I get to take that as a problem within my business. And therefore, I am a part of the solution. And that might look like, by the way, like I said, it might look like drawing a strong boundary and saying, here is the boundary I have around how communication gets to happen. This is what is important for me, for my business. And if someone is not willing to meet me within that container of how I want to be communicated with, how I want my business communications to happen, then that person and I are not aligned. We're not the right fit. Doesn't mean that I'm right or they're wrong. It doesn't mean that I'm better or they're worse. It simply means it's not a fit. This applies to every area of your life. If you, in your romantic life, you keep finding that you get into these relationships where you get taken advantage of, or you get into these relationships where you feel like you're not being respected. Great, you're the problem. You see that pattern? You see that pattern that keeps happening? You're the common denominator. You are a part of every single one of those relationships where you're not honored. You're a part of every single one of those relationships where you don't feel respected. And until you draw a strong boundary that says, I am worthy of being respected, I am worthy of being seen and heard and loved at the level that I truly desire. Until you draw that boundary, it is not actually a part of the foundation. You're saying, I want to build a house out of these values, but you're missing a wall. Build the wall. This is the container with which people can meet me in. It's not right, it's not wrong, but it's mine. If you are not meeting me in there and I'm expecting you to change, that is where we have a problem. We have a problem because I'm expecting something from you and I haven't owned my boundary. That's why we're still in this negotiation. We're figuring it out. And until I say this is a clear boundary, here's a solution, here's a strategy, here's a process, here's a way that I like to be communicated with, here's a way that you and I can handle our disputes, here's a way that we can work together, here's a way that we can date and deepen our romantic partnership, here's a way that we can show up as friends for each other. As you can see, it doesn't actually matter what area or aspect of your life we're talking about. Until you take ownership of it, until you accept that you are the problem, or at the very least, you're a part of the problem, you will not be able to fully take empowerment into being a part of the solution. Because if you say, I'm not the problem, they're the problem, the moment you say that, you've made the problem outside of something that you can fix. Outside of something you can fix. Even if the action looks the same, like, okay, in this I need to end this relationship. Let's say it's a business thing. Okay, I need to fire this person. Okay, great. What happens here? I can look at it as you're the problem, you're fired, boom. And then what happens is I hire someone else and I will repeat that same pattern because it's outside of my control. I've taken no ownership of it, and therefore I'm not a part of the solution. I've blamed someone for the problem and I have cut it out, but I haven't internally shifted, and therefore I'm going to attract more of it into my life. And the moment I say, okay, I'm having this issue with someone in my business, all right, I'm going to take ownership of it and say that I haven't set a firm boundary that says this is my limit. This is the line. And it could ultimately look the same, right? It could ultimately look like saying, this is the line, this is the boundary. You and I aren't seeming to be able to meet within that boundary. So we get to part ways, not blaming you. We get to part ways. And when I hire someone, I now know what I'm looking for. I've developed a solution because I've said, oh, here's the boundary that I have learned is important to me. And the next person I hire or the next person I date, they fit within that boundary. And by the way, that may sound selfish, like you got to fit into this thing, but that's how we all operate. You are deciding and you are emanating from yourself what type of relationships that you get to be in all the time with every single type of relationship. Your romantic ones, your friendships, your family members, your professional business relationships, all of them. You are deciding what those look like. Always. And even when you think you're not, you're like, oh, I don't really have any boundaries at all. Guess what? That means that you have said, you have emanated out into the world that you really don't have very many boundaries, but that's still the container with which people are meeting you in. And if you don't have very many boundaries, by the way, you're probably someone who's going to be taken advantage of. You're probably someone that could use a big boost in your self-confidence and your self-worth, because everyone gets to have boundaries. Boundaries aren't a bad thing. Boundaries are letting the universe know this is what I want in my life. When you make a boundary that says, I am no longer accepting poverty as a part of my experience. I am no longer accepting mediocrity as a part of my experience. When you make those boundaries, you shift, and the reality around you will shift. I'm a big fan of boundaries. You can call them whatever you want. We can pick other names for them if boundary has a weird context for you. But own them. Empower yourself by understanding that you are the problem. And you are the solution. So thank you for listening. Thank you for doing this, taking this a step further and actually contemplating this, really sitting with this, thinking about this, applying this to your life. And also thank you to all of you who have been sharing this podcast out. Please continue to do so. Social media, leave a review on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and all of the places. Please help me spread the word about this. We are in the design of this new paradigm together. And I want to remind you that always, in all ways, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved. I look forward to seeing you in the Create Premium membership for all of you ready to go to that next level. And for those of you who want some free epic classes, yoga, breath work, singing lessons, open mic nights, completely free every single day. We got events going on, thecreatecommunity.com. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful and blessed day.